Religiously, Dad was raised Catholic and Mom Protestant. Mom converted to Catholic when she was pregnant with me, and I was christened in the Catholic Church. They taught me about Jesus, but gave me free will to believe what was in my heart. I do know that they loved each other and that they didn't abuse me in any way. They did the best they could to raise me. When I was born, it was discovered that Mom had serious kidney complications, and due to her health complications, a lawyer told them it would be best financially that they divorced. Due to her medical bills, insurance companies then didn't want to cover outrageous medical bills. Drugs and alcohol crept up on me at a very early age. When I was 5, I chugged my first beer. At 6, I tried smoking and was swiping cigarettes. And when I was 7, Dad joined the Army. He left for a year where he served in Germany as a mechanized infantry scout. When he returned to the States, Mom and Dad remarried. So we moved from Ohio to Texas. This time, it was in the middle of my 3rd grade school year. I had to say goodbye to some very close friends. Less than a year later, I returned to Ohio. Due to complications still arising with Mom's health, her mental health was also taking a toll on her. Soon after Texas and living back in Ohio, Mom and Dad had to re-divorce for a second time. For years, I didn't understand their relationship until recently. For me, I threw up social barriers and chewed my fingernails to the skin. Anxiety and depression were creeping in on me. In 5th grade, it was determined by the Ohio court system that I stayed with Mom during the school season and Dad during the summer. This meant I had to change school districts and a whole new crowd of people to meet. My anxiety skyrocketed to the point of insomnia nights. I would end up sleeping in from school, missing the bus and then knowing I had a 3-mile walk to school. Thinking about anxiety gives me anxiety. Dad married another woman and moved to Florida. In the summer of '92, I went to stay with Dad in Florida. That's when, at 13 years old, I tried marijuana for the first time. By 17, I had moved on to cocaine. In high school, I found the stoner crowd that accepted me as I was. When Mom went to dialysis, I found the time to party at home. This led on to me having 2 children by 2 different young women. Today, they are grown and doing well. I managed to get good grades in school. I was in the marching band my freshman and sophomore years. Then I took electronics in vocational school. To get to vocational school was a 20-minute drive to get stoned. Needlessly to say, I made it to 12th grade twice and was expelled 3 times. My high school expelled me for missing too many days, so I got jobs in the automotive industry like that. I worked at a Dodge dealer as a used car prep boy, then at Sears Auto Center, so I was able to provide for my son and try to be a good father. For my daughter, though, paternity wasn't established till she was 4 years old. Still unable to hold a righteous relationship, I continued to use drugs and drink. Mom got fed up and put me out in the middle of the winter cold when I was 17. I was in the lowest part of my life up to this point, but not as much for what was yet to come. All I wanted to be was a good dad. I couldn't use drugs and be a good dad. My father made a surprise visit from Florida in February of '97 and said, "Pack 1 bag, you're coming with me to Florida." A car ride from Ohio to Florida was an impact event in my life. I wasn't sure to be happy or scared. Him and his wife put me back on track. And at Cape Coral High School, I took night classes. When it came time for the exam, I aced it. I also worked full-time at the same Lincoln dealership as Dad. There was a day he drove home. I think about that right now. I think about the Southwest Florida and the hurricane that just hit. Because I was down there. But life in Southwest Florida was very nice. I thought I had it made. Wrong. One day after work, we took a different route home. This was odd. We stopped at the Army recruiter's office. And I felt that I wasn't leaving until I signed the dotted line and I was on my way. In hindsight, the Army was one of some of the best times of my life, learning to fight and drink. It too was where I first found recovery. See, right after basic, I got caught drinking underage on Army base in Alabama. For that, I was assessed and they labeled me an alcoholic. Besides, I only drank a lot on the weekends. The seed of recovery was planted, but not taken very seriously. I just had to attend and participate in support groups. At first, I was offended and wanted nothing to do with it, but soon I accepted it. During this, I also was training to be an air defense technician, and after 9 months of additional training, I graduated AIT on Halloween, October 31st, 1997. I got my dream station in 97 at Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. Per orders, I went to awareness classes and AA for my last offense. This is where I had my very first AA meeting. I had some great nights in Hawaii, maybe too good. In 98, I got busted down for smoking marijuana. I lost my rank in Article 15. I completed more awareness classes and meetings. This also jeopardized my classified security clearance. For 45 days, I had my rank stripped and performed additional duties after my regular duties, like mowing the PT field or buffing the floors. I was given the option to reclass to a non-combat job or exit the service. I had a lot of time to think about this. At home, Mom was getting sicker and sicker, so I chose to exit. Mom's health was declining, and I made the reason for my decision to go back to Ohio. I got out of the Army in 99, left Hawaii, and I went back home. I wanted to be good, but I just couldn't control my drinking. Romans 7:18 reads, "For I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, dwelleth no good. For to will is present with me, but to do that which is good is not." I ended up totaling her car and losing my job. For the pain and heartbreak I caused for her, I am truly sorry. She passed away in March of 2000, 6 months after me returning home. Unfortunately, I wasn't there in her final moments, but she did tell me before she passed it was coming soon. 3 weeks after my birthday, she died, but lives in heaven. My life went further on a downward spiral after her passing. More infidelity relationships, drinking, and more drugs. I used people physically, emotionally, and verbally. A toxic, open-ended 3-year relationship with a woman that cost me jail time, anger management classes, and probation. I didn't physically abuse her, but I did cause plenty of property damage. I was now an abuser on more levels than just alcohol. I could not look at myself in the mirror and say that I had a problem. Really, I couldn't. My denial was so thick. I ended up violating that probation and maxed out my time and got out of jail. I was now couch surfing at friends and family's houses, eating anything I could find, sponging for a $10 a day habit, beer and cigarettes. Nothing was solid. I was very broken and I trusted no one. Around 2003, I heard from another ex-girlfriend from high school. She asked that I take a paternity test to claim our daughter. I was more than happy and feeling that I had it in my heart for so long. I had a feeling in my heart for so long that had been filled, and Kirsten Dow was mine. While battling other demons, a blessing came my way. Still battling my own demons of drugs and alcohol, self-medicating, I was depressed and angry at myself for ending my Army career and losing my mom. I couldn't be the dad I wanted to be, couldn't find a job, and I had no transportation. I was at a new low. I just wanted to run. I was feeling suicidal. If there was really a God, I needed him, and I sought a miracle. But I was also mad at God for all the tragedies in my life. After time in jail and doing probation, I had my record cleared. In the spring of 2004, my aunt came home from California. I explained my circumstances and desires to her. I asked her if I could go out to California. 5 to 6 days passed. She talked to my uncle. They agreed to let me stay. Under certain strict conditions, I had to work, make money, and pay rent. Consequently, I had a job before I landed on a jet. For what might have been a few months' stay turned into a long stay. For the next 5 years, I did landscaping in San Luis Obispo County. I felt that I was getting my life back on track, yet I was still self-medicating with alcohol and drugs. Around October of 2007, my family there didn't want to put up with my risky lifestyle, so I was put out again. I had some friends in Santa Margarita trailer park that I could crash at. on Friday, January 4th, 2008, which happened to be a payday, and as usual, gave me more advances to continue to drink and use. My roommates were with whom I worked with and got along with for the most part. As my party hiatus was winding down, I wanted to hear some music loudly. Due to my disruptions, I was asked to leave, so I took a walk. However, when I returned, the door was locked. I knocked and I knocked. With my little work pocket knife, I tried to jimmy open the door. At that time, a person opened the door. They assumed that I was going to attack and grab me, kick me in the back. As I fell over the coffee table, the knife went into my friend's chest. I got up with blood all over my hands and chest. The person that opened the door started yelling at me in anger, asking why did I stab my friend. I reacted and called him outside to fight some more. We both swung at each other at the same time, but his blow was harder than mine. The next thing I remember is being awoken by a classification officer jail cell in San Luis Obispo. He asked me what I knew about stabbing my friend. I really had no clue what had just happened and couldn't give him an answer. My friend that got stabbed was okay with 3 stitches. The blade didn't come 1 inch from his main artery. Later, I was able to make an amends with him, which felt great to have that weight lifted. Amen.
Amen.
The charge. I was charged with a felonious assault with a deadly weapon and battery. Sentenced to 1 year in county, 5 years probation, mandated county therapy classes, random drug testing, and calling for your collar, attended AA meetings in the Atascadero, and was to complete 1 year to recovery sober living home. For example, Teen Challenge, Rescue Mission, Salvation Army. Here an awesome friend told me, don't give up till the miracle happens. Don't give up. To make it to meetings, I relied on the bus, other people, and eventually was gifted a bicycle through Loras College. At Loras College, I learned 3D modeling, and this delayed my time going to recovery home. After all of the classes and meetings, I'd gotten some time under my belt, and I white-knuckled it. I still wasn't ready to get clean, nor had not been in sober living home. I found a job doing concrete pumping in Atascadero. On a Friday, I was asked to report to probation after work. I'd been up for 4 days already on that. I went in the front door and out the back door on a 12-day violation. After my 12 days, I was on my way directly to a sober living home. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. Spring of 2009, I was transported to Safe Haven Recovery Home here in Bakersfield, California. I was dropped off by San Luis Obispo County Probation Department, which took us about 4 hours to get here, which should have taken us about 2. Given I had no clue of where we were heading, I seen Bakersfield on the map plenty of times, but because we ended up on the I-5 north towards San Francisco, I knew we weren't headed for Bakersfield, and that was the first, longest, and last ride in a cage cruiser with a probation officer. Our first and only stop was at Blackwell's Market. Luckily, by this point, I convinced him to unshackle me. We knew where to run to anyway. All I had were the work clothes I had on from my last day of concrete pumping. A white t-shirt, jean shorts, and high-tech boots, and about $23. Finally, we had reached our destination. Safe Haven Recovery Home off Shaker Road. We got to the house and I had different expectations. Not your usual residential house. It was more like an oasis, I think. They had a swim pool table, day rooms, and a lot of food. Enough to make you want to stay another day. I felt like I went from the Gray Bar Hotel to the Hilton Hotel. Nice, huh? I think a miracle just happened. Of course, life as I knew it had ended again. This house came with rules, chores, and a desire to stop using. The rent was to be paid on the 1st. I had no way of paying rent. Really, in my mind, I had no intentions of paying rent. Maybe they will send me back to the coast. Sure, didn't have a job, not nearly enough money, and my family was already fed up, so what to do? The program director, the late Rick Medina, called me into his office. He said, "We have a problem. Rent here is $1,000 a month, and I understand your situation is no job, no money, which is no rent payment." So he asked what skills I had. I said landscaping, construction, and cooking. Boy, did his eyes light up like a Christmas tree. Really, I saw he needed laborers to help finish construction on his houses. My tongue slipped and I got myself employed as a cook and a gardener. I had attended AA and NA meetings before and sat in Bible studies. On a Wednesday night at the house on Pacheco, some men were gathered around the swimming pool. I was smoking a cigarette. I knew I needed a meeting. I needed an event. I asked them if it was a meeting. One said, no, more like a Bible study. I was introduced that night to a Celebrate Recovery step study. Richard, the group leader, said, you're welcome to join us. So I did. He invited me to join for the Friday night large group meeting, which the house attended anyway. So Friday night Celebrate Recoveries would be what I look forward to the most. The first Friday night, I heard the Holy Spirit say, something big was going to change in my life. I attended my first Celebrate Recovery large group meeting. Then for CR 101, Mama Lee showed me a video and talked to me. She was actually able to get through to me. I was broken down to the core. I was way too far from home to turn back anyway. No friends or family were around. This was my destiny. This was my road of recovery. I attended the large and small groups on Friday and joined the Sunday CR step study. I had found a new family of friends. This is the church. I learned to build healthy relationships.
Amen.
All of them days in jail reading the Bible had finally caught up on me. This must have been God's way of telling me, this is where I want you. Certainly wasn't my choice. Discerning the call and being obedient is a virtue, but this would be one of thousands yet to come. As I cooked breakfast, made lunches, cut the lawn, dug a trench, I still went to meetings in the day and evening. The Nooner AA on Lincoln Avenue had become my new AA. 6 months clean, I wanted to be of service, so I asked to join the tech team. That year I was also privileged to go to the 2010 Celebrate Recovery Summit at Saddleback Church in Lake Forest. Believe it or not, I started building PowerPoint slides for the lessons in running sound, seeing what goes on behind the scenes. The passion of computers, graphic design, and church had come together for me. Was this quite a blessing to me or what? With God, there is no limits. My year at Safe Haven was coming to an end, and I had just about 3 weeks left before I would return to Atascadero. After all, the meetings and the clean time, I still had some demons to face. I didn't know what vulnerability meant until I was to be tested. Pastor Theron had always been gracious to take me out to lunch. This one was going to be the last lunch for my farewell. To my surprise, he asked me if I would consider staying in Bakersfield. Whoa. Honestly, even after a year of sobriety, I felt like I still could reward myself with destruction. Well, that's insanity. I had pre-desires to go back to partying. I was setting myself up for a relapse. I explained to him I had 3 years of felony probation left. I needed a car, I needed a job, and a place to live. I got less than 2 weeks to make that happen. You think God hasn't done enough yet? Well, my accountability partner gave me a job at Soundwaves. The church collected money for me to buy a car, and I was invited to stay at his home for a month and no more. Now the job and the car have stories of their own. But what is important is where I lived next after Pastor Perrin's house. At CBAF in 2010. Up to this point, I had been doing really well with my recovery and probation, but I was in for a new journey. Down the street on Decatur is the CBAF, the California Veterans Assistance Foundation, home for homeless veterans. Even for a good transition, it was scary. But then again, I had been in transitions all my life. There I was, around fellow veterans now. I gained a sense of belonging and brotherhood and more respect for others. Here was pretty much the same routine as before: church, chores, work, meetings, and pay rent. But now I had more freedom to explore. The CBAF is a great place for any veteran to get off the streets. We were often asked to help support the community entered into the Veterans Day Parade. What an honor it is to give back to a community that has such hospitality. I would like to say I lived happily ever after this. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. After more life-changing events, I decided to go back to drinking. Off and on for the next 9 years, I even had a bad relapse with meth. This had driven me into a psychosis state I've never before witnessed. I saw and heard things that weren't there. I said things that I wouldn't have normally said. I did things I wouldn't normally have done. I was so paranoid. I was hearing voices and they were after me. I needed more treatment. The treatment I received at the West LA VA domiciliary was second to none up to this point in my life. This is an inpatient facility that honors veterans. There I had access to my primary doctor, psychiatrist, life coach, dietitian, pastoral care, and employment specialist. I had some sustained time of sobriety after this treatment. There came a time in my life that relapse of alcohol prevailed again though. Broken. Did good for a while, then relapsed again. What was I doing wrong? Why was I trying to self-medicate? I got burned out on meetings. Same lessons, same testimonies. Satan told me being of service was taking a toll on me. I started drinking occasionally, then heavily, every night. Then morning time and night. Then morning, at work, and at night. My alcoholism even became to drinking in the shower, hiding bottles in duffel bags. I became a closet drinker. Which I started out socially, I was hiding and trying to stay drunk all the time. My moral compass was pointing south. After an all-day binge and an argument with my lady, I decided I was going to leave Bakersfield and drive to Colorado and be with my daughter. My thoughts were east, just go east. So I was coherent enough to get on the 178 eastbound, hit a sand trap on a construction zone, plowed into a road close sign, ripped the front clip off the bumper and beat the front end. One headlight pointing up, the other one pointing down. The mouth of the canyon I went, the Killer Kern Canyon I was bound for. Drunk as a skunk and browning out, dozing off. By the time I made it to the mouth of the canyon, the sun was already at dusk. My gas light was on, E, no cell reception. I had to keep going. With the bumper under the car, one headlight pointed up and the other pointed at the river, I cruised at 25 miles per hour to the Bodfish exit sign. I get out of the car and start chucking beer. I found my phone and I called Vivian. Not even 2 minutes passed by and an off-duty CHP passed by and did a U-turn. He stopped, gets out of his SUV and asked if I needed help. I knew I was going to jail. So with all honesty, I said, yeah, a lot. He asked me how much I had been drinking. I said, yeah, all day. I was upfront and honest with the man, and I was fortunate to have him cite and release me to Vivian. I gave up my license also. I think the ride there was scary. The ride back was even worse. Actually, it was pretty silent, but the spur in my head now was really loud. So I get home, and the next morning I called Rebecca, my Friday night CR chip and salsa lady, who, by the way, worked at Legacy Village. After I called the dentist, the director for approval, I got a bed that night. At this point, I was ready. I called my sponsor to let him know. Vivian dropped me off, signed me over to him. After the search and seizure of my property, I was welcomed with love from other clients. With nothing to distract, no phone, no deadlines, I'd come to a place of serenity. This felt like a vacation away from home. And I knew to fight if the urge of homesickness prevailed. Again, I was greeted by other clients. Some gave me cigarettes and watched some wholesome movies like Clean and Sober. The program times with the staff helped me understand and what the alcohol and drugs would do. Definitely more harm than good. I was assigned 2 counselors, Daisy and Raymond. With their help, I was able to open up and come up with an action plan for me and my recovery. An important part of my recovery is family reunification. Many things I did in my addiction destroyed relationships. The therapist talked with me one-on-one. Then we brought Vivian and the girls into the sessions. We were able to openly discuss the hurts that I caused. This brought real healing inside. The destruction of my past is a rebuilt relationship. not with just them, but with others as well. I can now effectively respond rather than react. Chores were a part of actively serving the house. Some didn't like doing chores, but I used it to my advantage. By humbling myself and doing what was expected of me and being of service. One thing I had to change was my attitude. I gained an attitude of gratitude. Google defines an attitude of gratitude as making the conscious habit of expressing appreciation on a regular basis for big and small things alike. I appreciate God, my family, friends, food, the sleep, the recovery, and the clothes on my back, a peace of mind, and a constant reminder that everything would be okay, finally. I got more involved in the community, found a fellow vet, Sergeant Major from Portrait of a Warrior Gallery, that had been running a reboot recovery group in which I joined 2 classes. This is a Christian-based curriculum to help veterans and first responders with the stigma of post-traumatic stress. I built new relationships in a new group with others like me. Here I can put the roots of most of my problems on the table. The testimony for that class is very powerful as well. Later, Sergeant Major came to me again, and another veteran asked me about a vet-to-vet class at Legacy Village. As an alumni of Legacy Village, I could give back and hopefully encourage other veterans alike that change is possible. A year or 2 passed, and Legacy Village moved to Napomo to cater to veterans. For a couple of years now, Celebrate Recovery Broken Chains holds their West Coast rally there. I've been fortunate enough to participate in their fellowship, worship, and being of service of this event. Broken Chains is a group of motorcycle enthusiasts that share a passion for motorcycles. After all that, I have to say that I did relapse again, and the cravings in my head were just too much. From there, I decided to go back to the Dom. The same week, Legacy moved to the coast. There I have become head of environmental custodial services, and after 30 days, I was appointed as town president. I led town hall meetings, AA meetings, and listened to everyone's complaints. Actually, it wasn't that bad, but I was able to escape my triggers temporarily, knowing that I would have to face my fears eventually. I stayed 90 days and left. And since October 24, 2020, I've been clean and sober from alcohol and meth. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind."
Amen.
For the newcomer, today I have many commitments to help keep me focused and sober. I continue to go to meetings. I have 3 sponsees, lead a step study, and then a group leader at Open Gate Monday in CR. As long as I stay in recovery, my life will prosper. My intention up here is not to glorify me, but glorify God, and see how God transformed my life. Change is possible, and it can start tonight, but it takes patience for the blessings to come. It takes humility to talk one-on-one with the sponsor. It takes integrity to do the right thing when no one is looking. And it takes willpower, faith, belief in Jesus, and the time to do an honest inventory of our lives, to see patterns of failure, as well as see patterns of greatness. If God can restore my relationships after the destruction I caused, He can restore you too. Don't give up before the miracle happens. Romans 8:37. Yet amid all these things, we are more than conquerors, and gain a surpassing victory through Him who loved us. That's all I have. Good night. Thanks for letting me share.